Hello, thank you for joining me. Today it's my birthday. I've turned 30. According to what I've been told, I was born around 5 in the morning. So I guess I've been 30 for a couple of hours now. I've been thinking what better way to spend my birthday than filming a video and sharing with you some of the books I love, some of the books I think I will adore, and some other books I've been reading. I haven't finished reading yet. So yeah, books have been a constant in my life ever since I started reading, ever since I was able to read. So yeah, I think for me this is a lovely way of spending my birthday. This is going to be a long video, it's no doubt about it. I've got about 18 books I would like to share with you today. So yeah, let's start. Not quite sure what book to share with you first, because there's like quite a few of them, as I mentioned. But I think I will start with Chuck Palahniuk's book, Consider This. So as you can see the design, I read this book a couple of weeks ago. It's filled with highlights, as you can see. I tend to do that to the books I love. I try not to do that to all of them, but yeah, the ones I love the most tend to have this happen to them. So, Chuck Palahniuk's book, Moments in My Writing Life After Which Everything Was Different. Consider this. I cannot tell you how much I love this book. If you were to read one book this year, maybe even this decade, I would highly recommend reading this book. Regardless if you like Chuck Palahniuk's fiction style, this non-fiction book, which is part memoir, part non-fiction book, but mostly it's a love letter to his friends, to us writers, to aspiring writers. It's a therapeutic book as well, very much so. So yeah, I urge you to read this book, regardless if you even want to write or not. Chuck Palahniuk, from what I've been reading, he did journalism. He studied journalism, among other things. And yeah, it truly shines in this book. His style is wonderful. What I was left most from this book, other than the therapeutic warmth I felt after finishing it, was that after each chapter he wrote, he gave some advice. He often would say, if you were my student, I would say this to you or do that. And after each advice he gave, each memory he offered from his life, he would apply the advice in the next chapter. So for aspiring writers, or for writers who are already seasoned, they know, they've learned some of the craft of writing, this is still a good book. It's just, I just had this moment, I was reading and it's like, oh my god, he's doing this. Like, he's giving me this advice and then he's actually putting it into writing. Not many books that I've read anyway do that. It's just, I really appreciate it. It's when someone just tells you, oh, you should do this, specifically for writing, I'm talking about here now, but doesn't really give you an example, like a concrete example. Not everyone understands, oh, you have to do this or that. But once you have an example, one that you can pin down and be like, okay, that's what he did, I can do that as well. So, yeah, I loved. Look at these yellow pages, by the way, talking about the design. Very beautiful yellow, slightly orange, but mostly warm yellow. So I would like to share with you a few extracts. this is the introduction. For most of my life, I haven't balanced my checkbook. The result was too depressing to find out how little money I'd saved, what little the years of my life had amounted to. Yeah, it's quite bright. So there's so many instances I've highlighted in this book. Like as I mentioned, this is a love letter to his writer friends, not only his writer friends, his book lovers, people who love stories. It's just, yeah, I don't know, I felt like I wanted more, I wanted to know more, but at the same time, I think I'm not complaining that it wasn't a good, enough information about his life or about his writing life. It was enough to fill me, I guess. It did make me want to know more, which I guess it's a good point because it will make me read more of his work. I've only read Choke by him, which I loved. I've recently retried to read Fight Club because I've seen the movie a while ago and I kind of knew what happened. And before I didn't really enjoy it, but now I guess, I don't know if my experience was affected by the fact that I loved his book, but maybe I paid more attention to his style and I could follow it better. And I really, after reading it again, I could see how he did certain things. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that novel and others. There's a collection of his I really want to read, Haunted. I heard it's really good. But yeah, one of the things that one of the advices, because many things I knew, I guess, in a way. I've read about them before. In another book I will share with you, which is my top #1 book on writing and in general, I would say. There was one advice he gave, like when you want to write a character and you want to make him feel alive on the page, but there's like someone else is talking about that character. If you want to make the character who's being spoken about come as alive on the page as possible, use dialogue, use the actual, I met a man on the street. He said, it's a beautiful day today, isn't it? It's actually very cloudy in Manchester, but that's not the point. Don't say, oh, I met a man today and he said to me that it was very cloudy and blah, blah, blah. Use the actual dialogue he would have mentioned or that character would have used, because that makes the character come so much alive on the page. And I completely agree. Now, because I'm working on a story I'll share with you, I'm thinking to rewrite it, although I think for that particular story I want the dialogue is not necessary maybe, but in general I think that's one of the best advices. And maybe you think that you might say, oh, that's obvious. It is obvious, but at the same time, I don't know, it applies. Like when you read the book, as mentioned, he applies it in his writing, in his non-fiction writing, and it was really interesting to know how he also dealt with book signings, so much craziness that has happened, wow, with book deals or movie deals or other commercial deals he had as a writer or he could have had. Yeah, there's so many things. If you want me to make another video on this, it's already long. I was not planning to talk this much about it in this video, but it's just because I love this book so much. I'll share an extract with you. If you were my student, I'll tell you to reject the believable and go looking for the actual wonders that surround you. I'll tell you to read The Harvest by Amy Hempel and discover all the truth she deemed too fantastic for the reader to accept. I'd urge you to use fiction as a vehicle for social engineering. Readers don't need to be fixed or repaired. Instead, I remind you of Tom Spanbauer's directive, write about the moment after which everything was different. Tom Spanbauer, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong, was the man who conducted the writing workshop Chuck Palahniuk was part of, with many other writers. I mean, not too many, but like the group of writers he was a part of, and he's kind of Chuck's mentor, and I can totally see why. It's just, as I mentioned, I have a book which is top, like at the head of the list for me, the best book on writing that I've read so far. This is the second one, Chuck Palahniuk. But yeah, let me know if you want me to do a separate video on this, although I've been speaking about it quite long. For me this is like a big warm hug from Chuck Palahniuk to us writers. It was very, I was going through some things, and reading this book was just really therapeutic for me, and informative, and it was just, I just love this book. So please read it. Please read it. The second book, which is my top #1 book, is I've spoken about this book before, and it's my writing Bible, and that is How Write a Novel and Get It Published by Nigel Watts. As you can see, this is a battered copy. Again, this is filled with highlights. I've read this book 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago actually. You can see I bought it in June 2010 in Luton. It's filled with notes. I guess you'd say it's the first book on writing I read. Like, I've probably read bits and pieces, like quotes and stuff like that, before I read this book. But this was the first book I picked up thinking, I want to be a writer. I'm going to be a writer one day. I'm going to work towards it, and I'm so happy I picked up this book. I wish the man who wrote it was still alive to tell him my thanks. I won't speak too long about this because I've made a separate video about it a few years ago, probably when I started this channel. What I would mention, from what I remember clearly from reading this, is that he compares writing with gardening, which obviously I adore. He says that you have to plant a seed and you have to be very patient. For example, with a novel idea, you have to let it grow. You plant a seed, it doesn't just automatically grow instantly. You have to water it every day, maybe now and then, not actually every day to make it rot, but now and then you have to water it and make it grow, and you have to prune it, you have to, that's kind of like editing a book. But he doesn't go too much into that from what I remember. I really want to reread this book. I need to get maybe a new copy and read it freshly without any, because every time I'm looking and I see, oh, it's a highlight, I'm going to read that bit, but I mean, this is filled with highlights. I'm thinking to get a new, fresh copy to read it, to see how I feel about it now. I'm sure I will still love it, but I'm just curious if it will make me write another novel. I mean, obviously it will make me do that, but I don't know, it's just how I will react after all this time, knowing these things that I've learned so far. I'm sure there's still things I would learn about, because there's always something to learn. But as you can see from the title, it has chapters on how to generate ideas, chapter on dialogue, chapter on how to handle the passage of time. It also has about how to approach an agent, which I guess I didn't use it much because I'm an independent author. But it's just so well structured compared to other books on writing that I've read, and they're just so much fluff in them. This is so straight to the point, but written in such an engaging way. And the only thing I felt was kind of missing from this book, which is plenty in this one, is about the writer's life. The actual person who wrote this book didn't give too much of insight into his life, which was fine for me because I wanted to learn about writing and less about someone's life. And that's not to say that Chuck Palahniuk wrote a lot about his life. I mean, he did give memories, or like he spoke about memories, moments in his writing life, obviously, but like in a teaching way, but not preaching way. So that's why I feel these two books are my favorite books on writing. I guess Stephen King's own writing is the third. I would say it's good. I don't know, I just don't feel like that book is as good as these two. It's my opinion. Maybe if you're a fan of Stephen King's writing, you would think that's the most beautiful book on writing. But objectively, maybe not as objectively, but I do dare to say objectively these two are very good, because I didn't know anything about it. Maybe I knew about Chuck Palahniuk, but not about Nigel Watts when I read it, and I just instantly fell in love with them as human beings, not just as teachers. Like, you think Chuck Palahniuk's books, like he wrote Fight Club, that's quite a, and Choke are like, they are very like brutal novels. They're funny, but like grim, and I don't know what I was expecting from his non-fiction. I guess I didn't have any expectation in terms that, I expected certain things. I expected it to be good, but I don't know, I guess I didn't expect so much warmth just because I don't know him. I haven't personally met him to see how he conducts himself in a conversation, like live, not just on videos, and I haven't read much of his work. But from reading this, I'm telling you, like, I just love him. I don't care, like, I've never met him in real life, or I probably never will. It's just, I love these two people, these two men, and I've never met them, but I feel like I have. I just feel like they're such close friends. So yeah. If you're interested in writing, especially if you're interested in writing, I urge you to read these two books. Yeah. I promise I won't talk as much about the other books. These are just, I just love them so much. Another book that by Nigel Watts, which I've been looking forward to reading it. I just haven't, I don't know why I don't bring myself to read it. It's fictional, but it's based on real life someone. The copy I have is not in the best condition, unfortunately. I wish if any of you has a better edition of this book, please let me know. It came quite battered. I cleaned it up a bit, but yeah, it's still, I'm grateful because, as mentioned, the author is not still alive, so I don't know what's going on with his books, if they're still being printed. I know the one on writing, it's still being printed, but I don't know about this one, so I'm grateful I have this copy. I'll read you a little bit about this. The Way of Love is a gripping fictional account of the life of Sufi Mystic Jalaluddin Rumi, one of the world's most loved poets and teachers. What should I? Don't want to read all the back. I just wanna. This has been printed in officially in 1998. I mean, first edition, and the one I have is from 1999. So I was 9 years old. I would like to share. This is from like author's note. The end of the author's note. It says this: we must perform the end of the journey in silence, for the Sufi path is the way of love, and true love is always tongue-tied. I would like to share from chapter 1. And you'll probably notice why I feel I will adore this book. Yeah, the language that is also evident in the non-fiction book he wrote. The language is heartwarming, and you can tell this person was a beautiful person with a lot of light within. So chapter 1. There is a sun within us, so bright and so hot that the merest glimpse would jar us to ashes. There are suns too, that walk in the form of people. If the eyes of our hearts were open, we would see them, the smoking footprints they leave, smell the incense of their burning hearts. But such people are rare. Rarer still is the sight of them. Few have the eyes to see such a one as Shams Tabriz, the son of Tabriz. We are covered up. Most of us are cloudy days, the brilliance of our light obscured by rain clouds. We live in a cold and dark country where a watery sun grows pale crops and pale faces. Can we ever believe it will be warm when we have to break the ice on the water pail every morning? In the darkness night, when the slice of moon casts just enough light to show the depth of darkness that surrounds it, can we ever believe there is a world of color? Look at us. We seem so cold, so blind. The sun is hidden in us. We are pebbles, worthless and smeared with dirt. Cast sunlight on granite, so they say, and the ruby will grow. Likewise, a human being can also be transformed by the light of the inner sun. Listen to the story of such a transformation, the story of Jalal. And yeah, as mentioned, I haven't read the rest. I think I have this thing that I feel like, oh, I love the non-fiction book so much, and I feel like if I'm going to read some of his fiction, what if I won't love it as much? Although I doubt it from what I've been reading to you just now. I think you can tell his writing style is quite beautiful, and yeah. Okay, so let's just leave this. I'll share with you some of the books that I've been reading or that I finished recently. So I would like to share with you this book. I received it as a Christmas present from someone I'm working with, and I think it's like a thriller. Yeah, it says the finest crime series currently in existence. Charlie Parker thriller, John Connolly Dark Hollow. I really like the design. He picked the colors very well. So I would share with you. I have now read this book. As mentioned, it was a gift for Christmas. I'll read you the prologue from the prologue. The Dodge Intrepid stood beneath a strand of firs, its windshield facing out to sea, the lights off, the key in the ignition to keep the heater running. No snow had fallen this far south, not yet, but there was frost on the ground. From nearby came the sound of the waves breaking on Ferry Beach, the only sound to disturb the stillness of this Maine winter night. I do like the writing style. I just haven't read it yet because I've been reading other books. But yeah, I'm so grateful. It made me so happy to get this book. Finally, get a Christmas present from someone I work with that I enjoy a lot. So yeah, thank you so much, Betty. I hope you'll find your writing path as well. It's from my colleague. He's into writing as well. So yes. Let's see. I'll share with you another book that I've been writing. I've been reading. It's quite a hefty book, this one. It's by Nicolene Evans. Look at this cover. I mean, it's stunning. It's green, bluish green is one of my favorite colors, and yellow. And that was one of the reasons why I picked this book. With the other one that her father, this book is the author's, the father's, oh my god, my English. Basically, the father of the author loves this book. Of all the books she's written, this is his favorite apparently. So that's why I picked it up. It's about a boy who lives on an island. He moves from place to place, but he moves on this island with his father, and there's some magical elements, fantasy stuff. And I do like the writing style quite a bit. The only thing I would say, I didn't quite like the formatting. This is quite a hefty book. I guess just a random page. You see there's quite a long, quite a wide space between the paragraph, between the sentences, yeah. So, and yeah, it's just the formatting. I was a bit, but that's just maybe being picky on the design because I'm a writer and the author, and you know, I try to think about the object of the book as well, not just a story. But I love the writing style. Yeah, I do like it. I like it a lot. I think how many pages? I'm on chapter 18, 160 pages. It's a great book for kids, definitely. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing it. The author has many other books written, some like children's picture books and others like fantasy books, I guess. Yeah, this is the only one I've got so far. So yeah, love is so velvety. Right, let's put this down. I'll share quickly some of the books. Book, can't really call this book, I guess it's just a short story, and the back says the bad date that went viral. It's titled Cat Person by Kristen Romperian, the short story that launched a 1,000 series. It's quite nice design, isn't it? And it's short. I picked this up in Waterstones. It's quite a funny story, but it's also quite daunting. Once it sinks in, you're like, whoa. Yeah, and I enjoy the writing style as well. It's different. If that makes sense. It's different, I guess, from what I normally read. But yeah, it was quite funny, and it has also photographs inside. I think the artist who did the photographs. There's some information at the back. Elinor Carucci is the photographer, and yeah, it's a funny read. I recommend reading this. The title is slightly misreading. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, yeah, I think I paid 50p on this. It was like a sale. I think it was written for World Book Day, along with this one as well. I picked these together. This one was 10p, which is astonishing apparently. The guy at the Waterstone store, he told me, oh, Mallory Blackman book for 10p, that's a treat. I've never read Mallory Blackman. This is, I guess, a short story, maybe like a novella. I think it's like a novella. And the reason why I picked it up is because I like the formatting. It seemed like really easy on the eyes to read. And it's funny. I don't know if I like the voice. It's written in first person. No, maybe not. No doppelganger. No, I guess it's third person. Why I didn't think it's first person? Oh yeah, some chapters are in first person, the ones I've read anyway. And I didn't quite like the voice like so strongly, but then there were funny moments, funny things the characters would say, so that's why like sarcasm and all things like that I love. So that's why I picked this book. Let me know if you've read any Mallory Blackman and if you have any recommendations. Yeah, cute little book. A book that I unfortunately, I don't know how other people on YouTube feel about it. Probably lots of you love it, maybe, because you love the author, maybe. I didn't quite enjoy it. I gave it like a 3 stars, which some people would think, oh, but that's a good rating. For me, 3 stars is not the best rating. I feel quite bad if I give 3 stars. I mean, it's not too bad, I guess, but it's not amazing in my opinion. It's not a book that I would necessarily. So yeah, as I was saying, it's not necessarily a book I would pick up again or recommend to someone. The reason why I read this book is Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera, and from what I've been reading, it's his first fantasy book. So you can see the design. It's like a phoenix. And the reason why I picked this book to read it is because there's like a Waterstone book club was recently established, I guess, and this was the book they suggested for reading. So I was like, oh, I would like to read more fantasy because I haven't read much fantasy, but I enjoy like fantasy movies and all TV series and things like that. Oh, by the way, I got a signed copy. I got a signed copy. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. It was good enough to read. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I felt the reasons why I didn't enjoy this book as much is because of the voice. I was reading in first person, which normally I enjoy reading, but I felt like there was a lot of complaining in this book by the characters. At the book club, one of the people who's very young, I mean young, he's like probably 10 or something, I know, right? He mentioned that this should have been written in third person, and I completely agree. It was like some things I liked, but mostly I didn't because of I don't know, it just felt like the characters are around 19 years old, and they just felt like they were complaining a lot, and I was like, I get it why they're complaining, and I get it why they're doing some of the things they're doing, but at the same time I was like, come on, just be a bit more respectful and grateful for some things you have. And I didn't like the voice as much. The ending didn't come as a surprise to me, or the reveal of one of the characters. There's one character who is like a shapeshifter, which is actually my favorite character, as you'd say, from the book, because of the road he goes on, like the path. Compared to other characters, he's the one who changes the most, I guess, in my opinion, or not necessarily changes, but who does something about his situation and decisions he makes. The others are just predictable, and they felt spoiled. Some of them, especially one female character, especially, I was like, oh my god, who probably many of you like, but I didn't. There were things I liked. Why I'll probably be fond of this book a bit is because it was suggested for the book club, and it was probably the first book club I joined. It is actually, and I didn't know what to expect. So there's lots of younger people, younger than me, but they had very good opinions, that's why I joined the club. I wanted to hear different opinions, that's why I guess I enjoy this book a bit more, because probably I wouldn't have finished it otherwise. I was like wasting my time with this. I was quite pissed off. I think it took me like 100 and so pages to enjoy it a bit more. Once I got into it, I read a bit faster, but as mentioned, I would probably give this 2.5 stars, to be fair, because as mentioned, although I didn't like it as much, I feel like there are people who might enjoy this book a lot. There was a girl who gave it, I think, 5 stars or 4 stars. She said it's one of her favorite books, from the group that we were at Waterstones, because that's where the book club took place. That's what I like about the idea of a book club and being part of this sort of thing. It's because you get different opinions. Like there's some people who gave it a 3 stars. There was a guy I was mentioned someone younger, I guess, who gave it like a 2 stars, and he was quite like, I was like, yeah, I applaud you. You're not afraid to say you didn't like it. I was like, yes, I love people like this, because many others tend to be like, oh, that person liked it, I can't say I didn't like it, that would be like bad taste, and I totally disagree with this. If you didn't like it, just mention it. If you loved it, no matter how cheesy it is, just say it. Life is too short to like pretend you like something you didn't, or to try to be like other people when you're your own person. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next book book club meeting. I think we're going to read Simon and the Homo Sapiens Agenda, and I've been wanting to read that book for a long time. So yeah, anyway, enough about this book. You know my opinion about this. I'm sorry to the author if you watch this. I really try not to say bad things about the book, because I know how much hard work goes into writing something. That's why I guess I gave 3 stars and not 2.5. But yeah, I'm wondering if I would enjoy his other books, which are not fantasy. I don't know. If they're written in the same like voice, kind of moaning, complaining about things, maybe not. But I'm not saying they are. I'm looking forward, because some of his other books have been very well received. So yeah, let me know what books of his you like the most. I know he has one which is They All Die in the End. They Both Die in the End, something like that. So that sounds quite interesting. It's a good title. So yeah. A book that I've been reading from like bits and pieces, because you can do that, is Terry Pratchett's book, and this is on writing as well. And it's quite interesting to read his essays and like kind of journal entries. I think the introduction was written by Neil Gaiman, the lovely Neil Gaiman. Yes, foreword by Neil Gaiman. I want to tell you about my friend Terry Pratchett, and it's not easy. I'm going to tell you something you may not know. Some people have encountered an infallible man with a beard and a hat. They believe they have met Sir Terry Pratchett. They have not. I love this introduction. You can tell how much he loved his friend. It says, some people, science fiction conventions often give you someone to look after you, to make sure you get from place to place without getting lost. Some years ago, I ran into someone who had once been Terry Handler at a convention in Texas. His eye misted over at the memory of getting Terry from his panel to the book dealer's room and back. "What a jolly old elf Sir Terry is," he said. And I thought, no, he's not. And you see here now what I was talking about to you about, I was telling you about Chuck Palahniuk's book. That's exactly like what Neil Gaiman is doing. He's presenting a person like who's probably never going to appear in the book, and just making him feel quite alive, just because he's using that quotation. So yeah, I've been enjoying this book because obviously Terry Pratchett, he passed away a couple of years ago, I think. But yeah, he's from a different generation, you'd say. He has a wealth of knowledge, and it's interesting to read from like how he dealt with writing before laptops and like the computers he used. I remember reading from like some of the beginning fragments of this book, and you were saying how big the computers he used, how large memory they had, like being very small memory, like a few megabytes, which for us now is like not even a picture would fit in that probably. Like a full resolution picture. And yeah, I like his humor as well. And yeah, I think it would be a very useful book to read, to have an insight into his writing style and his life as well. And it's just like, yeah, I'm looking forward also because, yeah, he dealt with a terrible illness, and yeah, he's one of his most beloved friends of Neil Gaiman, and yeah, Neil Gaiman. So yeah. Yeah. All of this here. Okay, so what else? I'll share with you a book which I've been owning for like 10 years or more. No, 10 years to the date. Maybe in the evening, I guess I received this. 10 years ago. As you can tell, I've signed it, sort of, wrote in it. And this was a gift from my university friends Rob and Jenny, who are now married. And it's The Complete Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. And it's a beautiful edition. It's by Vintage Classics. And I regret to say that I have not finished reading this book. Unfortunately, I apologize to the people who gifted me this. The reason why is because let's share a page with you. It has an introduction by P.D. James. It contains lots of the story, The Hound of the Baskerville, which is one of my favorites, and probably one of the earliest stories I've read by Sherlock Holmes. But yeah, let me show you like the print. This book, it's so small. I mean, it's not so small that it's not readable. It's quite a hefty book, and I tend to read a lot at night, and I don't like to keep the lamp on to like bother my partner while he's trying to sleep, because I tend to read after 12 o'clock at night a lot, you know what I mean? It's not like I read at 10, just 10 o'clock. So yeah, that's my poor excuse why I haven't been reading this much. But from what I remember reading from it, I remember had beautiful descriptions of people, especially people, I think, yeah, details and things like that. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I guess I need like a proper mood to read this book, like a long mood, because this is a long book. But also it can be enjoyed just by reading short stories from it. I don't think they're necessarily like you have to read in order, so that's good. That's very useful, because it will take you quite a long time to read the small font. So yes, this is 10 years. Actually, when has this been printed? Because I've owned it for 10 years. It's been printed in London, and 2009. So yeah, 11 years it's been printed, this particular copy. Okay, another book that I would like to share with you, that I don't read as much, and I would like to, are comic books. So let me get closer. I feel like I'm a bit far away from you. So I've enjoyed the TV series The Witcher. I mean, there's only been one season, but I think I've enjoyed it more than, I don't want to say Game of Thrones, because I've seen Game of Thrones had like, I don't know, 7 seasons, I think. It was quite different, but like a lot of surprises and all sorts of things that I've enjoyed in that. But in The Witcher, I don't know, I guess I liked it more. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. It was the humor, the fight scenes, the fantasy element, obviously. I love the main actor who plays, I mean, I love the way he acts, you know, Henry Cavill, who plays The Witcher. I forgot his name, oh my god. I'm such an idiot. What is the name of the main character? Gerard, oh my god, I'm terrible. Gerald Rivia, something like that. I'm terrible with names. But yeah, I love the TV series. And I was browsing the Waterstones bookshelves one day, as one does. They have lovely hot chocolates. That's one of the main reasons why I go to the Waterstones branch in Arndale, in Manchester. So this is the omnibus that I have. Let me tell you, I am not a fan of the cover. I think it's not terrible. But if I were to pick this omnibus based on the cover, not knowing a thing about the story, The Witcher, I wouldn't probably be attracted to it, because I don't like it. It's just any of the other covers from like the chapters of the stories compiled in this collection would be better, with the exception of one maybe. Then this cover, it's just like, no, why did they pick this one of all the covers? Anyway, but yeah, so this is basically the story of Geralt of Rivia. It's this particular book collection is based on the games, on the video games, and not on the novels as much, which I have to say, I'd have to, so my card was full. I had to delete some files. Yeah, this video is taking longer than I anticipated and than I had in mind, but I'll show you some bits. I hope I don't get in trouble with like copyright. I just want to show you how beautiful. There's some naughty stuff in here, so if you're not comfortable with like sexual scenes, maybe this is not the book for you. Yeah, there's quite a few I think there's like 2-3 instances that there's like, maybe more than 3, like 4 maybe, that have quite explicit content. Obviously they're drawn, but still, you know, some people don't like that kind of stuff, but I appreciate it. I thought it was beautifully done. All the drawings are beautiful. I liked some more than others, like the styles. Yeah, look at this. This could have been a nice cover. Let me try and get the shine. Killing monsters. Oh yeah, and this is actually the page that I really like. It's about a fox creature, and the story kind of ends, and the fox mother, I guess you'd say, or protector, says to him that, I mean, I don't want to spoil it for you, but it says something to the effect, illusion, all is illusion. That's a quote. Exactly. So I don't want to say more than that, but I thought it was quite beautiful. So yeah, although I didn't enjoy it as much as I was hoping it did make me want to read the novels by the novels are by Andrzej Sapkowski. Andrzej Sapkowski, he is a Polish author, I believe. And I think there's 7 novels, or 6 or 7 novels in the series. And I've read the beginning of the first one, and I really enjoyed the style. So I think I'm looking for a nice edition of those books. Okay, I'll leave this because this video has been quite long. I was planning at around half an hour, but yeah, it's quite longer than that. But it is what it is. I mean, if you want to spend part of your day with me on my birthday, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. So I'll put this here. Now I've got which one? I'll share these ones first with you. I've got like maybe 9 books left. No, wait. So I've got a book on trees. It's called Around the World in 80 Trees, and it's written by Jonathan Drury, and I am so grateful I have a copy. The author gifted me a copy. I can't remember if I made a video about this back in December. I think around December I received it. This book, nice green cover, nice texture, but mostly the important stuff, it has beautiful contents. I'll read you a bit from the back. Look at the birch trees. I think the birch tree is one of my favorite trees. It says, a botanical journey filled with science, history and wonder. This is the best love letter to trees I have ever read. Sir Tim Smith, founder of the Eden Project. I have loved trees all my life. It's fascinating to understand the key role they play, not just in our lives, but life as a whole. Dame Judi Dench. So yeah, this book contains, as mentioned, I saw the video cut off again. Anyway, as I was mentioning, this book contains illustrations. They're done by Lucille, let me find her name, Lucille Clark, and I'll show you one page because I don't want to get in trouble with copyrights or anything. I'm showing all these books to promote the work of the authors, by the way, so please don't get, punish me for it. That would be silly. But yeah, I hope it doesn't bother anyone. Just want to show you how beautiful executed this is. Beautiful work, and I love Mr. Jonathan's Drury. I love his style. The way he weaves history with the wonder of trees, basically, it's just wonderful, and I'm looking forward to finish reading this book. I'm kind of reading one tree at a time, and the reason why I haven't delved into this so much is because I would like to use it as a source material for one of my books, one of them anyway. So I think that's why I'm kind of I don't want to read it now, all of it, and then when I'll be in that project, I won't be like, oh, from what I remember, I read that, and I mean, obviously I can go back to it, but I don't know, I feel I'll be more inspired when I'm deep in that project to read this as well. And yeah, it's a beautifully compiled book for every tree lover, and if you're not a tree lover, you'll become one. And yeah, I just think it's so interesting. Yeah, it just gives you information where each tree is found, and how it was used or what symbolized, during history times and all this time. And yeah, I can't really put it into words. I know that's bad for a writer, but you just have to read it because there's so much information, and I don't know how to just pick one thing, obviously, because I haven't even finished the book. But yeah, wow, look at this illustration as well. Stunning work. I'd like to maybe read you an extract from the book. Which one? I'd like to. Oh yeah, I think the baobab tree. Let's see. So across cultures, the words for sharp or pointed objects tend to have fricative sounds, such as F's and K's in English, and those for rotund things have rounder sounds, like B's, M's, and W's. It is hardly so surprising then that the baobab, also known variously as the boabua, oh, I can pronounce this, is one of the blobbiest trees on the planet. Isn't that a wonderful word, blobbiest? Wow. Baobabs are strange, occasionally locally abundant but often solitary, and probably live up to 2,000 years. The most common species, Adansonia digitata, has 5 or 7 leaflets attached like fingers to a central point, and is a familiar sight across most of the sub-Saharan African savanna. Folk tales give different accounts for its odd look, the most common theme being that it has ideas above its station, and after much toing and froing, the creator exasperately flung the baobab upside down with its roots in the air. I can totally see that, like totally. And the baobab if I remember correctly, is present in The Story of the Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, which you probably know is one of my favorite books of my childhood and life in general. So yes, I urge you to read this book. Please post reviews. It helps the author. Post reviews with all these books if you give them a try, obviously. Okay, so I'll quickly like to share another 2 books, one bigger and one smaller, by a Romanian author I've met last summer, at the end of the summer when I went in Romania, and his name is Ionica Sava, and one is I'll show you this first. It's a spera called Speranța, which means the hope or hope, but the hope will translate to. And I'm not really sure if you can buy these books from any Romanian bookshop, because I bought it from the author directly. He signed it for me. He wrote something really nice. He's quite old now. He's over 85, I believe. So, but yeah, it was a privilege to meet him. I'm so happy I got to meet him. So often we get to know about wonderful people after they pass away. I'm so grateful I got to meet this wonderful human being. I'm looking forward to reading this book. I bought like 4 books from him that day, or maybe, and an English one as well, translated to English, called Don't Fall for a Lunatic. So this is his other book. I enjoy this. It has like short stories and it's quite interesting. And the artwork is done by him, by the way. The paintings, I believe, if I'm not, no, they are by him. Beautiful, beautiful work. I haven't read this one. I need to read it. But yeah, I enjoyed reading a Romanian artist who's still alive, and he's been through so many things. He's been a teacher, and yeah, he lived during the communist times in my country. It's really interesting. And one little book he wrote, that's tiny book, that's very precious to my heart. He wrote about hazelnut trees. And look at the beautiful illustration he's done. It's a tiny leaflet basically about the importance of the hazelnut tree and how it helps to prevent what's the English name? When the floods happen and the earth comes down. Oh my God, this is so bad. But yeah, it helps to prevent that, because it has deep roots and it soaks water so much. I visited him at home, as I was telling you, and I got to see his hazelnut forest basically. It was wonderful. It wasn't obviously as well kept because he's, as mentioned, the gentleman is older now, but you could still feel the good vibrations and positive energy. And there's one interview he mentions, and he said it to me as well when we met, that hazelnut trees, and like trees in general, especially hazelnut trees, are like angels on earth. And I can totally see that. As a tree lover, I totally agree with that. And it's my dream one day to make like a garden of trees, like a forest of hazelnut trees, maybe name it after him. If I'll be healthy enough to do that, that would be really nice. So yeah. Another book that I've read around Christmas time is The House Without Windows. And look at this beautiful edition. And I'll read you the back. It says, an enchanting book. This pages simply quiver with the beauty, happiness and vigor of forests, seas and mountains. I can safely promise joy to any reader of it. Perfection. Eleanor Farjon, winner of the Carnegie Medal and the Hans Christian Andersen Award. So it's written by Barbara Newhall Follett, and Jackie Morris did some illustrations. Look at it. design book, and the story, from what I remember reading it a couple of months ago, it's written by this young girl. She was like the author, Barbara Newhall Follett. She was around 13 when she wrote this. She initially wrote it around 12, and then there was a fire in the house and the whole manuscript burned down. And then she rewrote this, and around the age of 13, I think this was published. And it's a really wonderful book. I think I enjoyed it a lot. I don't know if I was satisfied by the ending. I found some things a bit repetitive, but it was beautiful language. It was just really, it made you feel like a child again, and how nature felt to me anyway when I was a child, or like when I was like around 10, 11, 12, how it felt, how much wonder I had for like butterflies, for leaves, for grass, for a leaf of grass. It just reminded me of that. The plot itself wasn't very complicated. Like this girl, I forgot the name, but she runs away from her home and she goes and lives in the mountains, and she's attracted to all these places, and by the end she goes to the sea, I believe. It was just the language. That's what the design of the book made me pick up, because I like golden. And the language, it was like a fantasy. I mean, it is sort of a fantasy, because it's about this child who dresses herself as she puts flowers in her hair, and she's kind of like a fairy. I love the introduction. It was a beautiful introduction. So what does it say? It says, "This is a tale of presence and absence, a mystery of fantasy. It begins over a century ago on March 4th, 1914, in a small house in Hanover, New Hampshire, with a child called Barbara Newhall Follett. Or perhaps it begins in 1918 when she was 4. Imagine then. See in your mind's eye a small girl standing silent outside the door of her father's study. She can hear music, curious taps and clicks and whirs and things of a small bell, and she knows what she is hearing is the music of writing." This is just the introduction, which was written by J.K. Morris, the illustrator, in April 2019. It begins like this. In a little brown shingle cottage on one of the foothills of Mount Varkrobis, there lived with her father and mother, Mr. and Mrs. Eglin, a little girl named Ippersip. She was rather lonely. She kept advising Mr. and Mrs. Eglin to make a beautiful garden where flowers would bloom year after year, and to which birds and butterflies would come back again and again. Accordingly, all three set to work with a will, and in a few years they had made the most beautiful garden that was ever seen. So you can sense the theme here: butterflies, trees, nature. Lovely book. So this book, The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. It's a beautiful edition by Macmillan, I think. And has gilded pages, which I love. And I have to say, I've never read this book. I bought it because my partner said he read it in high school and he really enjoyed it. And I have to say, although the writing is small, which I'm not a fan of, as you may know by now, I like the way, I feel as a writer I can learn a lot from it. And as a reader, I can enjoy it, and it's just, I'm looking forward to this book. Have you read it, The Hunchback of Notre Dame? Look at this beautiful, cute edition, and beautiful colors, beautiful illustrations. So blue. So nice, easy to carry in backpack. He turned towards mankind reluctantly. His cathedral was sufficient for him. So yeah, I have two more books, and another thing I want to share with you. Two things actually. So a book I've come across by accident on Instagram. When I was younger, I used to watch Criminal Minds, and if you know Criminal Minds, it has Matthew Gray Gubler, and apparently he wrote a book. Not apparently, he wrote a book called Rumple Buttercup, a story of bananas, belonging, and being yourself. That's what it means. And look at this. It's so cute. God. I love the mint color, the mint ice cream color. It's green. Beautiful, beautiful green. And the illustrations are done by him as well. And it's published by Penguin Books. For all the rumples everywhere. How nice is that? And yeah, it's about this creature. So it says, come close and I'll tell you a story. Rumple Buttercup, chapter 1. It has 3 chapters. I read it a while ago, but yeah, it has 3 chapters. It's longer than a usual children's book because of the illustrations, I suppose. And they're strange illustrations. They're not like, it's not like something you've ever seen before, I think. It's just unique. That's why I love this book. It's such a beautiful, beautiful book. And it teaches kids and adults alike about the importance of being yourself, basically, and accepting that and embracing that, not just accepting it, and being very happy with who you are, no matter how you are. And it starts like this. Once upon a time, long ago and far away, in a tiny town beneath a purple-peaked pine tree. There's the illustration. There lived a monster named Rumple Buttercup. He had 5 crooked teeth, 3 strands of hair, green skin, and his left foot was slightly bigger than his right. Left and right. He actually made an illustration. Check this out. He was weird. And so Rumple worried that if anyone ever saw him, they would run away, be scared, or throw rocks at his head. So he spent his entire life hiding underground in a rain drain right by a garbage can in the middle of town. Rain drain, that's a very nice word, isn't it? So yeah, I don't want to read everything. I'll share the picture of the author. It's quite funny. He's very inventive. I didn't know that because I don't tend to look into the lives of actors as much. I just want to enjoy the characters they play. So yeah, it was really, you can find him on Instagram, Goobler Nation. It's a really beautiful story. I'll probably gift it to kids and friends of mine who have kids. Very, very beautiful. And now I would like to share with you a discovery I made. Probably one of the most beautiful books I own that I have not read yet, but I have an intuition that it will become one of my most beloved books and stories. I found this book 2 days ago in Paramount Books in Manchester, which is like a second-hand bookshop, like very old, from the 60s, I think, 1965, I think it was opened, something like that. And yeah, I was browsing, I was looking for The Call of the Wild by Jack London. If you know, there's been a movie made after it, which I enjoyed, kind of, but it reminded me how much I loved the book when I was like 11 or so. It was one of my favorite books and still is. Obviously, I haven't read it in many years, but still. I remember like watching the film, the film had certain things I'm not pleased with it, but I'm pleased that they brought this story to a new audience. And kids will grow up with this story, knowing it. It's a beautiful story. Although the book is more brutal and there's violence, it's quite something. So yeah, I was looking for that, an edition of that book, and I haven't found one. There was none in the bookshop. And I was browsing the shelves and I found this beautiful, beautiful book, The Water Babies by Charles Kingsley. I have not heard of this author before, and I obviously have not read the book, have not read this story. But he was quite a character, apparently, this author. He did so many things in his lifetime, and this book, find it. This copy was published in initially in 1983, and then this edition is from 1988, I think, because it says reprinted in 1985, 1988, and I'm going to show you an illustration. But basically, from what I've learned, this is a story about a boy who sweeps chimneys. And if you know a little bit about history, England was notorious for the bad treatment of kids during Victorian times, and especially like the kids were just terribly treated. And this book apparently is one of the reasons why the law changed. And so yeah, it says here, The Water Babies, it's not just an entertaining story. Kingsley wanted to publicize the cruel treatment given to boy sweeps like Tom, who were forced up chimneys by means of burning straw applied to their feet. The character of Tom was, in fact, based on a real-life boy called James Seward, who swept the chimneys at Eversley when Kingsley was curate there. The Water Babies certainly helped unfortunates like James Seward. The readers were horrified by Tom's story, and by 1864, a year after the book was published, a new Act of Parliament became law, the Chimney Sweepers Regulation Act. Both then and afterwards, The Water Babies was a great success, and in 1898, after 35 years, it was the sixth most popular book in England. Today, over a century after it was written, Kingsley's novel is still being read all over the world. The Water Babies, a fairy tale for a land baby. And that's what made me pick it up, because it's not just like a story about a boy. It has like fantasy in it. I think many stories have fantasy in it, but it's just like, I don't know, I read a bit from it and I really enjoy the style. I want to show you. Look at one of the illustrations. Isn't that wonderful? So pretty. Let me tell you who did the illustrations. I'm not sure. It says a Purnell book, illustrations copyright. Yeah, I'm not sure, sorry. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this. I'm so happy I found it just before my birthday. I'll remember dearly about it once I'll be older as well. And yeah, I think I'm developing an addiction for collecting beautiful editions of books. So yeah, beautiful book. Should I share with you maybe a bit from it? Read you the beginning. Tom sets out with his master, Mr. Grimes. That's from chapter 1. Once upon a time there was a little chimney sweep, and his name was Tom. He lived in a great town in the North Country, where there were plenty of chimneys to sweep and plenty of money for Tom to earn and his master to spend. He could not read nor write, and did not care to do either, and he never washed himself, for there was no water up the court where he lived. He had never been taught to say his prayers. He never had heard of God or of Christ, except in words which you never have learned, never have heard, and which it would have been well if he had never heard. He cried half his time and laughed the other half. He cried when he had to climb the dark flues, rubbing his poor knees and elbows raw, and when the soot got into his eyes, or when his master beat him, and when he had not enough to eat, which happened every day in the week. And he laughed the other half of the day, when he was tossing halfpennies with the other boys, or playing leapfrog over the posts, and thought of the fine times coming, when he would be a man and a master sweep, and sit in the public house with a quart of beer and a long pipe, and keep a white bulldog with one grey ear, and carry her puppies in his pocket just like a man. Isn't that a wonderful style? I mean, it feels so easy to read, but let's remember, just because it feels really doesn't feels really easy to read doesn't mean it's easy to write. Not everyone can do this simply but beautifully. Okay, so now I would like to quickly share this, which is a notebook I've had. You've probably seen it in my videos, and it's a book. It's a notebook that I've been writing moments from my writing life, from my life, which just like beautiful memories, because I think people in general, myself included, tend to focus a lot on negative stuff when they happen, and they drain us a lot, and we don't focus as much on the many beautiful things that happen to us. So I like once in a while I write really beautiful moments that I think are beautiful anyway for me, that make me lit inside, and yeah, just give words to my life. And yeah, I just want to let you know I'll be writing more in this, and I urge you to have one of these books. It's kind of like a journal, but it's kind of like I mean, I write other things in it, not just like beautiful moments, but yeah, I think it's a good idea to have something like this to look back on, especially in difficult times. So yeah. And now the last thing I wanted to announce after this long video, if you've stuck with me. Today we announced, me and my illustrator, we're finally working on my first kids picture book titled Passion the Blue Bicycle. And my illustrator, the one I'm working with, Rhiannon Thomas, we posted the first image she produced. She's working on the illustrations, she's doing the storyboard. So yeah, hopefully this year, this story is 5 years in the making, if you can believe it. For a kid's story, that's a long time, but obviously we haven't found each other sooner. We only found each other recently, and we started working. So yeah, hopefully by June it will be done, but fingers crossed, you never know, lots of things can happen. It's just, I hope this will happen this year. Because it's a story very dear to my heart, and it's wonderful to see it actually in images. Like, I can't wait for the color illustrations and the storyboard and everything. It's an interesting process to work with an illustrator. So yeah, please come back to the channel if you want to know more about this, or follow me on Instagram if you like, because I post there quite often. So yeah, thank you for joining me today on my birthday. I hope you enjoyed it, even if it's been quite a long video. I think I've enjoyed lately to see what books people are reading, and I hope you found something lovely in this video, and it will inspire you to make your own videos or write, or things like that. Please share with me whatever books you love. I'd love to know about it. Please leave them in the comment section. What else? I would like to share with you, in case if you're new to the channel, I would like to share with you my books as well. If you wanna maybe say happy birthday by leaving a review for one of my books, or like buying a copy, or sharing the word about it, that would be wonderful. This is the large edition for Whispers and Other Strange Stories, and which can be found in this collection, which is Dark and Twisted Tales, Volume 1. Cover, everything is done by me, except the interior drawings, which are done by my father. So yeah, and this book contains, as mentioned, the Whispers collection and my first novel, which is a young novel, you'll say. But yeah, I hope you'll enjoy if you check them out. I would like to share a quote from Felix Blackwell, who is one of my favorite authors. He wrote In the Devil's Dreams. He says, so praise for whispers and other strange stories. This one. A profound darkness radiates from this book, yet each whisper conveys an unnatural beauty. Crina has woven a surreal think piece on the soul of horror. So thank you so much. I made a little dance for last year when I received this quote from him. It was very kind. So yeah, it just gives me hope I can write better and bring more stories for you. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I don't know when I'll post a new one, that's why I made this so long. But yeah, keep an eye on the channel. And thank you so much. It was lovely sharing some of the books I love with you, and thank you. Have a lovely afternoon and take care of yourselves. Bye.